I can't figure out why I can't get there. That's proposed agenda for last time. Usually it comes right up. Got this, but I can't click on it. Thank you. What'd you do?
I just went to the Van County and did the commission.
You went to the site.
Went to the site,
Okay.
because that's, if you can't get in, that's
Okay.
usually lets you in, but
Thank you, Luke.
you bet. Well, that doesn't mean I know what I'm doing.
What's the date?
It means you did know it.
Second. It is the second. Yeah, second.
Well, say it's gonna be that, it's gonna be that way till midnight tonight.
And remember, pass supper.
Yes, pass under. Yeah, okay. That was over there. Jim, I just called. Did I just call you Joe?
Yeah.
Did you see her?
It's Andrea. I don't know.
Who?
Andrea Marshall, I assume, isn't it?
I don't know.
She's upstairs?
You're downstairs.
Probably Andrea. Deputy clerk.
I think I know her.
Never mind.
Good. We're officially done. Ready, Doug?
Yes.
Okay, minute after one, we will call the meeting to order. If everyone would please stand and join in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, for the purposes of the agenda, did anybody have any conflicts they'd like to present now? Any requests to modify, either adding or subtracting from the agenda?
I don't think it really needs to be on the agenda, but when we approve the agenda, we will address this cast iron plaque that has come back to the county's possession.
Okay. So, if there's no additions or subtractions.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on approving the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So, you want to tell us where this supposedly came from, Doug?
Okay, if I understand correctly, would you hand it to me, Dan? Oh, I don't know if I can. I believe that Jim Keeter bought Walt Becker's property. And so he said that he found this mixed up with some other iron. So this was dated 1907. It represents the commissioners at that time. So I don't know if this was made to commemorate something. I would have to go back and look to see if maybe that was the courthouse before this one.
I'm guessing it might have been on a bridge.
Might have been. That's a good, yeah. Might have very well been a bridge.
Was that the commissioners at the time?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Jim had it cleaned, it was originally kind of rusty.
It was a whole lot of rusty. I took it to the Millerdale County, they sandblasted it for me for a few paltry dollars and cleaned it up. It looked like brand new steel. I treated it with soaked it with broiled linseed oil, and hopefully that'll keep it from rusting. That gave it a bit of an antique look, I guess, but it looked like brand new steel after they sandblasted it. So.
Well, we should do it somewhere.
I agree, in here.
In here?
Yep.
Will it, is it heavy to hang on a wall?
I think we'd be better off to put it on a piece of wood and then hang it on the wall. So that it has more surface area attached to the cement.
Interesting old piece nonetheless, so. We will move on.
Help yourself. As far as on-hand economic development goes, Tara couldn't be here, so I told her that I would present the letter. If you look on the agendas, you can see a link to a letter from them. Basically what they're doing, like so many others do, is they just sent a letter asking for continued support for on-hand. Their request is continued support for $32,000. So after this meeting, myself and Dan and Jim plan on working on the budget. And so at that time, we'll consider that request. So there's no action for you to take at this time, other than to read their request, because you do see some justifications in there for it.
Is that an increase or is that the same amount as last year?
I believe it's the same.
That sounds like the same
Yeah,
thing.
it was the same.
Next is the elections. As required by statute, I'm going to give you a report of the post-election audit. So rather than standing up here and regurgitating that to you, I've made a document and I provided a link to it. And I believe that Jim has a copy, and I just want him to initial it that it was received here, in case somebody questions it in the future.
No problems with the audit?
Absolutely none, 100%. The machine does what the machine is supposed to do.
Do you need any motion in regards to this? Just-
No, basically, it just states that you received it. I do want to talk to you a little bit about the Americans with Disabilities Act. Each election cycle, we get a visit from Disability Rights of South Dakota. They check our polling places to determine if we're in compliance to allow handicapped individuals easy access to voting. We do not always get good scores. For example, when we had a poll in Ree Heights, that required the voters to go up and down stairs. And the bathroom was also up and down stairs. And so that was a terrible circumstance if you're a voter that's not very agile.
Isn't that why we have absentee voting, to accommodate people?
Yes. Yes. But there might be some who wish to go to the poll and cast their ballots. So like in Polo, we switched from the school and we went to the Legion, which was a good, very good. I get a lot of good feedback about it because it's ground level. It's right off the driveway. It didn't pose any problems. The only issue we had there is we don't have dedicated parking spots. So I bought some temporary handicap parking blue and wheelchair signs that we can put up polling places. That was also the same comment we had in Valen, is that there's no reserve parking for people with disabilities. The sign at Sunshine is located away from where the door is. So their sign that they have a record all the time, it's not close to the door. So I'll be using temporary ones there. There's only one handicap reserve spot at the community center, so I'll be using them there as well. What we did find here was, at the courthouse here, is that we presently don't have anything that is appropriately marked for handicap parking. It's not marked. There's no sign. The curb is blue, but it's washed off. So ideally, if we were to have a new building, this is what it would look like. The two spots closest to the door with the easiest access would be reserved for handicap parking. The reason that you see this area of red, that's because there's a step up to get there. And then this is where the handicap spot is presently. But if you're handicapped and you're a passenger, you would open this door to a curb. By moving the handicap spots here, you eliminate both of those circumstances, you still give them direct access.
We just put a pole with a sign on it in front of those two
We would
spaces.
probably get one of those that's on wheels, so when there's snow removal, it can be moved and then moved back after snow removal. But yes, it would be a sign located where this red dot is designating these two spots for handicap parking. And then you see this is fairly wide, and that's to allow for vans as well as doors on both sides.
A movable pole for that sign would be substantial enough.
Yeah.
In the wind and the rain and the
There's no
blizzard.
reason I'm not
Would it
going over
only be for elections? No.
No, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, we're non-compliant.
Is it okay not to just paint it? Do you have to have a sign? Can it just be painted?
Well, the sign would have to say that there is a penalty if you park here, which we don't have even when we did have a sign.
I've never seen one that had a penalty mentioned on it.
Oh, yeah. Hospital, I was
Is
at
there
a
one that
clinic
says that?
appointment and I looked at theirs.
That's that's supposed to be the.
That's the only way it's enforceable. If you don't have the language, if you don't have the sign, and if you don't have the dedicated spot, then if somebody decides they're gonna take that spot, you just can tell them to leave and that's about it.
So has there ever been lines in the parking lot for parking?
Please.
It would be, I was thinking about that the other day.
I
It'd be nice.
Yeah, we've talked about that amongst ourselves.
That center part is really, I mean, so if you're the first one to park there, it's really kind of hard
You
to
can just-
judge where
I was today, but
Well, and if the first person didn't judge correctly, then the whole center line is.
And you come in sometimes and the line kind of creeps in and then pretty soon you have about a 7-foot wide path.
Well, that's kind of what this yellow line represents, is that if we were to partition off, which I personally advocate, and I believe you guys advocate for,
What's that?
having it marked,
Yes.
because we see it too, and we've had accidents take place in the parking lot, so.
Or where you can't get out.
Not that-
because you're-
And the city has a jig for painting it, the lot.
when's the last time we replaced the pavement out there?
It was seal coated when I was still sheriff. You know, they used that red rock and then the oil, for some reason the oil came to the surface and the red rock sunk. So that was probably 10 years ago.
Is it due to be replaced in one of
Yes.
these coming years? Maybe we should not spend a lot of money painting or putting signs up
Oh,
until
it
we
takes out the paint.
You're probably talking a
Right.
couple $100 a paint or something.
Yeah, and then like these areas here, that can be just done with a roller. But if we were to do these lines and stuff, we'd probably ask for the city's jig. And the hospital has a striping card. We'd probably do it right. So anyway, what I'm asking you to do is, if you feel really confident, you can approve it now and we'll get started. Or you can hold it off a month for comment and then decide next month.
The way it was, my only thought was, where it was painted, when the curb was blue,
Yes.
if that spot wouldn't be sufficient if we put a sign right there.
We
Still,
would have to allow 2 feet or
what is the,
basically, it's no less than 2 feet. So the cars would stick out into what is normally the traffic to do it right.
it's gotta be, you gotta allow 2 feet off the curb or something.
Yep.
because the handicapped person could be on the passenger side getting out on the raised curb, you said.
Correct. But it would absolutely, no matter what we do there, we couldn't make it suitable for a van.
Because we got that curb,
Right.
you'd have to take the curb out.
Didn't that also used to be reserved for law enforcement vehicles, the sheriff's office vehicles?
When the jail building was built, we had reserved parking along the jail building, but I don't remember
We
any.
never had it just outside their office, horizontal parking. I thought we did.
You
I
got it.
recommend if you are gonna have lawns painted to do slanted, because if you pull in straight, it's hard to get out, because we don't have enough width for the lanes.
Yeah,
Able,
So
able both
Yeah, it was
there's supposed to be one right here.
But people just,
northeast
Right.
to
Just wanna
southwest,
Make that clear, that it should be amicable.
is that what she's saying? Northeast to southwest, pointed that way,
yes,
just like we
We
park.
always kind of this way, so there's, we'd be slanted to the northwest.
We used to have a sign at the north end that said you couldn't enter that way, and that forced people to park in that orientation. But that's down.
Both of them are down.
Yeah, both of them.
right. Yeah, one got knocked down, the other one was setting off like this for a couple years, so.
Well, if we want people to park in that manner, we better put a no entrance at the north end again. Because they're never gonna be able to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, the only, if you didn't, you would see them parking in this way, but they'd be faced to go out. Well, most of us use as the entrance.
Right.
So has the parking ever been like slanted or perpendicular to up against the curb?
Like here,
Yeah, like,
we
Yeah.
toyed with it many years ago about making this angle parking here, and
Right,
making the whole center open.
I mean, you lose maybe a few parking spots. It gives you all kinds of room to back out of there.
Yeah, that would make sense, but sometimes if they mark out the door, they want people over.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, people are, and then, I mean,
Yeah.
people are crossing
True
them.
story.
Yeah, coming in and leaving.
Yeah,
I didn't quite catch that, Ken.
People going through.
Okay.
If they don't go through the back of the cars, they go through the front of the car.
Right, and sometimes it's kind of hairy.
And you're saying angle parking against the curb
It
would,
might help because then we'd have time to, it'd slow the traffic down, so they wouldn't have a straight path to go through, they'd have to come around.
Right.
When they leave the hospital after work, sometimes they just come through.
yeah, they just, this were,
Yeah.
And then your handicap parking is right, as close to
But we would probably
the,
move it
possibly, yeah,
they're
Here.
talking about
in here.
right, on either
Does that make
side.
sense?
Yep.
Angle parking on both sides would very possibly actually add capacity to the parking lot.
You
yeah.
won't have to have people parking in the center.
Correct.
Well, that's
That
about
entrance is close, so you could get people way out to the end, probably, because it would be
On the south end, yeah.
on the south end.
I get what you're saying,
Should we,
Maybe one.
should we have a committee study it for a month and act on it next time?
Well, I sent this out, how long ago was it, 3 weeks ago? Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
You're not the only one who's ignoring.
The drive coming in over here.
It's more
They get
Well, then let's just put it out some,
to the west. So you could angle park in there. Just move that entrance to the west. Because you don't want them shooting back there anyway, move it over, and that way people get. They can do that.
Move the entrance to the west?
This west entrance, which would be your main entrance,
South entrance.
move it, or the south entrance, move it to the west.
Is there curb in the way?
Well, there's a little curve there, but it's all busted up. It's not that you're gonna be doing anything major. I mean, it can be done so cars can park there. That would give you more spaces, and then the cars would be going through the middle. There'd be cars parked on the
Yeah,
west side,
yes.
cars
Yeah.
parked on the east side, and the vehicles would go through the middle.
that makes sense too.
If you just move that over, it'll make everything work.
That also leave, if we did it that way and angle parked in front of the courthouse, that would also leave that area in front of the door as more of that handicap spot.
Right.
Put one on each side, that whole area in front of the door then can be used.
That is sloped in front of there, so they can get out and come up the slope. We don't have to cut the curb off.
We don't have to deal with the sign or something.
Right.
Okay. So the other thing that came with this conversation is that Disability Rights said that they would start looking at funding sources that might be available for us to renovate that West End.
In addition to our parking,
They would go for
solution?
funds.
They might be able to find us funding for it.
Not for the parking project,
Just the
for the
entrance.
west entrance. Okay, and what is not handicapped accessible about the west entrance?
The whole thing.
Okay, tell me, because I don't understand why it isn't.
It's the proximity of the outside door, and it's narrow,
Now, the outside door or the courthouse door?
the outside. The door that's missing, just. the-
Yeah, there's one there.
Opening.
Yeah.
breezeway goes.
And so then you would have to, you could never do it alone because you'd have to reach in, pull the door, block the door to get yourself in. So
Is that why there's no door there?
I have no idea. I've never known there to be a door on there. So the second part is the door is too hard to operate if they're in a wheelchair. So like we did have a wheelchair bound person come up and vote during absentee. And it was quite a chore. But they were very, very pleased about the opening.
Just can't get to it.
Correct.
That's what I kick it.
So yeah, basically that wooden entryway is non-functional at all as far as.
Why is it even there?
No clue.
I think it's an eyesore.
I think that was done like probably when Joe Kendall was custodian in that era. Because he was kind of handy with building stuff like that.
How much scarring would be on the building if we were, on the building, if we were to remove it?
I don't think none that we couldn't deal with, from what I've seen. There's some caulk and tar, but I'm sure that can come off.
I thought we talked about that a while back at a meeting, because we have that mailbox down there, the drop box. If it's not enclosed, if you, the wind and snow and rain's gonna get in there.
Yep.
So we need to have a place for that to be accessible from the outside.
Right.
So I thought that's why we were just gonna leave that on, but open up the outside frame a little more to it.
I actually,
And with a spot where you can help that, open that door bigger so that when you went in.
when I was visiting with Will, I was telling him, like, when you go to the VA in Sioux Falls, they took their hard ones out and they used glass panels instead, so you could see traffic coming. But that's kind of what I envisioned there, instead of having that wooden one. We could have one of those glass bus stop type of enclosures there.
There's lots of solutions. I mean, they make weatherproof outdoor boxes. All that stuff is available. So,
It's not who I said it was. So anyway, I'll put that on the agenda for next month. But as far as the rest of the American with Disability stuff goes, I think I can mediate all of that for the general election, just with the temporary stuff that I've purchased, which honestly was quite cheap. So that concludes my portion for now, and I believe that Nicole is next.
Alright, so we have the budget reports. We are definitely sitting better than we were before that $500,000 transfer. Let's see. Should have these lined up. The fund cash balances, you see they're sitting about $1,184,534.43. If you look at my revenue report, that kind of breaks it down. That's what I'm starting with there. So we reserve out of that spendable amount, $143,442 for the Smith Bridge from FEMA. And $14,000 is striping funds. So that takes our spendable balance down. But then we add the taxes that we're receiving, the vehicle taxes and the wheel tax. And this month looks like that's about $77,000 of income that we have coming in from motor vehicles. And then we spent about $77,000 in payroll, and we have about $184,502 in bills to be paid. So those are bills that you guys are signing today, and a few others that we received after that deadline. So our cash balance should be sitting about $842,000 right now.
Is that historically about it, what it should be?
You know,
Long-term history or?
I was gonna say,
Long-term,
Yeah.
it would be more than that.
It would be more than that.
yeah, it would have, but we're not in the red, so, yay. Ready. Let's see here. And I know our budget is sitting, our budget is sitting pretty good. We've spent we have spent 33.5% of our budget, and we're over halfway through the year. So that's not so bad. We've been,
With or without those projects taken out?
that's with
With
those
those projects, yeah,
projects,
so
with our
that's not-
over
not a true reflection of those projects that are in the budget.
With our overshoot on that budget. But we're still within what we were talking about. We've still not gone over that limit that we reset the budget at. Let's see, I pulled together the secondary road funds information, which.
So sorry, just to go back to that budget
Oh, you're fine.
expense, so, are we gonna modify that to?
Are we officially gonna modify the budget for this year, for 2024?
No, right now, it's just a spending restraint.
Okay, it's fine, it's not a big deal, I just,
It is kind of nice to see the accurate.
I mean, it just,
numbers.
yeah, the percentage.
I thought you took $1 million out of it.
But
Canceled $1 million in projects.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was no action to formally modify the budget.
Cause you would
it
see,
wasn't official.
Cause that would make the budget.
I mean, Jim's right, the percentages are meaningless then, when you're looking at it.
But,
And
yeah,
you have to just
so
do that in your head.
since we're not gonna be purchasing the materials and the oil for those projects, yeah, we should be able to stay under that, at least the $1 million limit. I know, for that, save $1 million off that budget. I know it's encroaching our repair situation is getting up there, and we're hoping we can make it through the end of the year and stay under on our repair budget with that $30,000 truck repair that we had to come through. And then there was a couple other big ones, but we're doing okay so far. Is that all you needed?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I looked at the secondary roads fund. One thing I have noticed since I started, you don't really have much of a way of saying, there's not a report that says we've spent this much out of these restricted funds. It just shows what we brought in on those restricted funds. So I'm gonna start kind of breaking that down so we can keep track of that together. The Harrison Township Secondary Roads Fund that Doug brought up for me there. So we brought in $17,505 in that secondary roads fund from Harrison. We have spent $30,491.21. So right now we're in the red with the secondary roads fund. Of course, we're anticipating the second half of taxes to be coming in. And hopefully that'll cover it, but they only have $223 worth of funding available, and I think we probably went over that the other day.
So we basically need to stop services up there.
I was gonna say, is that,
So that, because it's including that 24,000 of gravel?
yeah,
Okay,
Yep.
That's why it's.
yeah, we did 4 miles on that road that washed out last spring. And that is what the expense came up to. And of course, we had the snow removal from last winter and the grading. And we were just up there the other day grading, so we're probably gonna be over that number.
Let's say we need to stop.
That's what we.
Everyone else took it to their township and recreated the
Right.
boards and said, no, we're gonna monitor this and do it ourselves. And they opted not to, and this is what we have for funds, and I don't feel like we need to keep taking that out of everyone else's pocket if they're not willing to. go back.
But we also don't have second half collections from that township.
Right,
Estimated annual revenue of 30,715,
750.
but
We've already spent
Already
we already
30,000.
spent
You already
30,000.
spent it.
We gave them an advance. That's how that's coming out to. But anyway, so that is currently where we're at on that.
Which we have to stop that. We can't advance them money. Because when we advance them, we are taking money out of the rest of the county's budget to advance them.
And basically taking away from, not taking away from, but it's not fair to all the townships
That
that are
paying their way.
taking responsibility and taking care of themselves.
And I think we're on record as having said last year officially, that is our policy.
I do recall that being discussed.
So
So that's where we're sitting on that. We don't have any funds in reserve for that account anymore. And then, if you want to look at long-term debt, right now, we have 2 payments left this year. And we have the Capital First Trail King belly dumps that we will be paying off on 12/15. And then we have the leased tractors. Now, this is the new lease amount for the new tractors that'll be coming in probably in November from what Patrick told us, October, November. So we will just start out the new year with a new lease, and end the year with a new lease. But we are right on
But those smaller
schedule.
dumps will be paid off, I mean, they'll be
Yeah, this is the last year for
last
that.
year.
And then next year, we're scheduled to have those other 3 payments continuing. So that gives you guys a guide on what you can, where we're at on that. So that's the fun information, and I have more information on the bills that are out there if you guys are curious. And I got details on how much it costs for that done here, so if you have questions about that. The 2 Mack trucks that were previously declared surplus, I got a hold of Purple Wave. They do have a clause that I just sent Doug. We cannot advertise those for sale anywhere else except for with them. So they do have an exclusivity clause. But they have not contacted us yet, but they will be contacting us to come take pictures and post that on the website and notify us of when the auction is taking place. Once that,
Where are they out of?
what is,
Manhattan, Kansas, I think.
Is that a nationwide?
it is a nationwide thing. I know they told us that they can get us what we were originally thinking those trucks would be worth, 35 to 40,000, and that is why we went with them. Because, I don't know, I'm really just hoping that that comes through. But also we don't have to pay anything to list with them because we're a government entity. So it's free for us.
Do we have a reserve?
We do not, we are not able to have a reserve.
Do we have a plan B if the
If it
auction
goes
is a
short,
failure?
not,
There is no
no.
We just have to pay for it,
I'm gonna
but I don't think we're
guess.
gonna be, I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal.
I know that the gentleman I talked to that represents our area, he said, we've been bringing in 40 to 50,000 on those trucks, easy.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll be able to follow through with that.
When would that be accomplished?
I'm waiting to hear back from the representative to tell us when that auction will be, and then we have to post a notice in the paper for 2 weeks.
Will there be a closing date
Yes.
that we determine or they determine or the law
They didn't
determines?
say that.
They determine that, but it'll be at least 2 weeks after it's been advertised.
Okay.
So. Then, let's see here. We talked about the John Deere's. And then if you look at those culverts, we did get we checked out 2 different sizes of culverts for the Canyon Road Road. And there's about $1,000 difference between the 2.
Which one was
Well,
I'm assuming it was 10 foot.
the 10-foot is the one Jeff was thinking about going with, and I think if you scroll down, you'll see that's about 30,000. 30,211.
It's got the wrong dimensions on
Uh-oh.
it. Happens.
The other one, the link is funky.
Yep.
Well, I thought I was able to bring that up. But anyway, the other one's about 20,000.
$10,000.
So it's $10,000 cheaper to go with the 8-foot culvert. The 8-foot culvert is what we already have there, or 8-foot opening, I should say.
It seems like he was thinking that was sufficient, I thought, last time.
That's what he
Yes.
was saying.
Yeah, he said he thought that would be perfectly fine. JB informed Jeff that it's never overly full. Like, it's never over its limit.
I guess I don't know why we'd spend $10,000 more for one that we don't really need then, but.
Right.
If that's the opening we're already working with and it's not gone over the road, or Jeff, say if it's ever gone over the road,
No, it has not.
I
That,
don't see any reason to fix a problem we don't have.
so yeah, that's 20,646.32. Sorry, didn't get it completed there.
That's what we need to act on?
No,
No.
we just wanted to let you know we're saving $10,000.
Is True North out of Hearing?
Yes,
Is it actually manufactured in Hearing?
A lot of their stuff is.
I think so.
Well, I can't imagine that there's a cheaper place to buy them then. Could there be?
There's not,
About 40 miles.
there's not, nice and close.
It's an interesting place to go and watch them build culverts, it's amazing. They start with rolls of steel that are, I don't know if they're 2 foot or 3 feet wide, and they just roll that thing out, and when it gets to the end, a chop saw comes down, whatever length they set it at. It's amazing, then it crimps the ends for a connecting band if you have to put 2 culverts together.
Do they sell all over the country or mostly the Midwest? Or?
I would think certainly all over South Dakota at least, but
They have different plants and different locations.
Oh, do they?
Yep.
Anyway, all right, so did you guys have any questions about the road and bridge at this point?
Back on the long-term debt,
Yes.
is there a reason this number doesn't match these numbers on the budget versus what you calculated here? Is there more?
Well, last year, so this is the new lease number.
So the new,
So that's the new lease amount. And that is why
that was substantially less than our,
it was $100 less.
that's what I thought it was about the same. I don't know, there's between the principal budget
And
is
interest.
238 versus what? The lease
I'm
for
not
principal
sure
come up with
why that's
105.
that way, except
I mean, that's close to $35,000 difference.
is it really?
Yeah, because the budget is $238,000 of principal, and what you calculated on here is $205,000.
See, and I wonder.
There could be something else that is on this.
I'm wondering if there was something last year that we just pulled that number for, that. I was really new last year.
No, that's fine, I just,
So
if we just
That's
pay
been my
attention to it when we're
excuse at
doing
this moment.
the budget, the 25 season.
But yeah, no, I'm not sure, because I know I saw that too, and I was kind of surprised we couldn't be closer on that as well, since we should have our debt service. I mean, we have our debt service information all right there.
Right.
So, yeah, you're not wrong. But
Okay.
I think we're happy we're under and not over.
That's a
I know.
very good problem to have.
I think last year we finished paying off the covenant. So I'm
That
guessing
kinda
that
bracket off
that payment dropped off, but the number didn't get lowered. And I was not in tune with what exactly was what back then. So, but anyway, so I'll move on to safety program. Thank you to everybody who came to the defensive driving, appreciate it. We had 26 people come do the defensive driving program. And I thought that was a pretty good number. So I was talking to Doug and we were discussing fire extinguishers and accessibility. I know the minimum requirement is that we have a fire extinguisher within 75 foot of walking distance, like no counters in the way, no, not having to walk around, it's walking distance within each individual office.
75 feet within an office or from an office?
from the office, within walking distance from where your station
Do
is.
we still have one over by the elevator?
Each floor has one by the elevator. We talked about this last year. I think I went the professional way and talked to Midwest Fire Safety. They're coming next week to check our first aid kit and our fire extinguishers for their annual check-in. But he's told me that it's $75 per fire extinguisher and $5 to inspect it each year. I see in each office, they had a fire extinguisher bracket within like the desks. Where there used to be a fire extinguisher, there's no extinguishers there anymore. I know we were hoping to get something small on hand in each office, so if needed, it could be used quicker.
I personally don't think we need a full-size one in each office to knock it down while somebody else can figure yourself. I have a lot of computer equipment in my back room, whereas the other ladies don't. But they do have electronics back there, which probably are most likely source of fire.
Electrical cords.
So
Like I said,
I bought some of them little aerosol can ones for my house, just to supplement my regular ones. I don't know that we need to go through this kind of service fire extinguishers that are otherwise disposable after a couple of years.
Well, I know these guys have extinguishers in their offices that haven't been serviced for a very long time.
Is this something that you put there, Susan?
I have one right around the corner.
Did you put it there or?
It's that, well, it was in the closet before, so I just set it outside.
Have you guys made how to do this where that end does get on your rate or this?
I don't know.
So obviously, we were thinking about that in the past.
So do because they just commented the ones at the highway department, right?
Yeah.
Do they touch the ones that are in the semis?
They do. Yep, the guys bring them all in, and then they look at them and they check them and they shake them, whatever they do.
Is there one on the elevator?
Make sure that there's
Not
pressure.
inside.
Is there a requirement that there be one on the inside?
Not that I know of.
Remember that person who ended up in the attic of a fire in the car?
Well, they're in the attic.
Now they just put an alarm in there so you can scream and push remote.
Super.
I'm talking about on the old elevator. Remember that poor soul that ended up in the attic with the fire?
I don't remember that. I do
It's a
remember
dream
being
you had,
discussed.
No.
I remember it being
No, that's
discussed.
true.
Really?
Went to the top, they just sat there.
It's done.
Or did it start with a flame or was it just smoking?
I don't think there was a flame.
Yeah,
Probably half
that was
of
my
them
understanding,
elevator.
just smoking or something.
maybe just ask his recommendations and then we go from
Well, he's
there.
gonna recommend five full-size fires.
Mhm.
Right.
So, or what do they cost?
It's like $80 for a piece the first time, so $75 for the fire extinguisher, and then $5 when they come and check them, each one.
And I don't know what like a 2.5 or a 5 pound extinguisher costs, like if you go with
I was
something.
gonna say, if we go on
Buy off the shelf.
Amazon,
The problem is if we just buy extinguishers, if they're not being inspected, unless they're gonna inspect extinguishers that we buy. The problem with dry chemical fire extinguishers is the dry chemical in them gets caked up.
Yeah, we gotta shake them then.
Yeah, you're really supposed to do that once a month or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Is there also a life expectancy?
I don't think so, as long as the powder or dry chemical in them is still loose and will move and they're pressurized, I don't think there's a life expectancy on them, but
Susie, how old is that one that's in your office? Do you know? Was it there when you got there?
Oh, yeah, it was there.
If you could check to see whether the pressure gauge indicates it's,
No, I think Nicole looked at it.
We did look at it, it's in the green.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I couldn't tell whether it was loose or not, it might be.
18 bucks a piece. So probably just buy one of them every 3 years.
The one that I had in my office,
We should,
the actual tank expired, which is why it was taken out.
I thought they had an expiration date on all of them. Maybe I'm all wet.
Maybe they do, I don't know.
They have an inspection, it's kind of an inspection requirement, like Jim said, they do require you to shake it up once a month, is what they just,
I had a cousin that was in that business, and he said that's pretty essential, that once a month you grab those things and shake them, make sure the dry powder in there is loose.
but if anything,
If you can't feel that powder shaking around, he says that thing is not gonna help you much.
yeah.
Thank goodness since I've been here, we haven't used them
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
in 20 years.
But yeah, I was thinking we could look for something that's a little
You
more.
gonna test this on us soon?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's great. I mean, that's-
The date is stamped in the bottom.
Is it?
Your name.
can you feel
Did you
it?
see the date on the bottom?
Well, Jamie,
NXPT 40
Yeah, mine
year,
has been inspected since 2020.
It was inspected in 20?
Yeah, yep. In 2020.
That looks about the same vintage, doesn't it?
Yeah.
this one, I wouldn't say the powder is loose.
It probably is when it's sat that
I
long.
don't feel it moving.
But they can be charged.
Where did you say the date was set?
On the one I had, it was stamped in the bottom.
It says it's okay, but.
Otherwise, another one I looked at had it up on the net.
The only one you're gonna find out the same, you pull that pin, squeeze it.
It's got a 2015 date on the one side, but I don't know what that means. If that's when it was made, it's when.
7/27, 2016, but it doesn't have an expiry, that must have been when it was built.
Yeah.
So it's
This
your
is
green,
a- this is a 5 pound.
That's a 5 pound.
Yeah, it looks, because the ones that I looked at, they look good. Now, could you tell if that was loose in there or not?
I couldn't feel it
The
moving.
inspector will tell you, I'm sure.
I'm sure they could.
They take them apart and.
The question is, will they inspect our fire extinguishers that we purchased, or do we have to?
Right.
Purchase them through them.
So they're guaranteed. I did ask them if they could put those on their list, but I'm a little nervous that they're gonna do like they did to Doug and say, well, this is expired and just take it.
They say basically, once they get to that, or they're expired or whatever, that it costs more, maybe than they're expired, but if there's something wrong, it takes more to repair them sometimes.
Then it's
than
worth
you know,
Right.
that.
And in reality, how many more would we need in the courthouse or the library? If we had to get 10 more, that's $750.
But I was wondering if maybe each office would want to purchase a small one off the internet, or if we wanted to go big and have everybody do it.
Are there laws that require that we must meet?
The 75-foot walking distance is the minimum requirement.
Is that the state fire marshal's office that enforces it?
Yeah.
And do they perform the inspection?
I think they don't do an inspection, but I believe they write the laws, don't they? They make the rules.
It's federal or state fire code that's adopted off of federal.
That's one thing we have to give them. It's a bad idea, we'll put it everywhere, then I would guess if we're gonna do that.
There really is whether you think we should invest in the smaller ones that are eventually disposable, or like Jim said, go with a full-fledged one that gets inspected annually.
Right.
Comes from a vendor.
The other issue, I suppose, is if you don't have them inspected, and you have a fire and something happens, and it's not right, then there's a liability and you do have it inspected, I assume as well.
So do you have a sense of how many?
Well, I was counting and I thought, well, if we do, there's 5 offices and 2 bathrooms downstairs. Whether we want to do the bathrooms or not. There's 4 offices on the 2nd floor, and then there's the vaults, which do we want to consider those a second room, or I think
I would think not.
the main office should be fine, right?
I would think so.
And then I was thinking at least like 2 for the 3rd floor, like 1 for the courtroom, maybe 1 back in family services area, the family, the waiting room, jury room. But, so I was thinking about 11, which is like $880 if we get them through Midwest Fire.
The first year, and then $55.
And then it's $5, yeah,
At least we have some assurance that they are operative.
right. they're inspected and they're officially maintained and we can.
I guess I'd talk to him and just make sure his recommendation of placement. I'm sure he has that's what he does. I assume he has an idea of where he feels they're really required and see what he says.
He's gonna come and meet with me next week, and we were gonna walk through, he said he'd bring his measuring wheel to make sure that the 75-foot is official. But anyway, so, I know it seems kind of heavy, but I don't know.
If there's a fire, then
Exactly. So
I do.
anyway,
Went to the St. Mark's elevator one time when Midwest Fire was there inspecting their fire extinguishers. And the guy had taken one out to the tailgate of his pickup. And he was, had that thing sideways banging it on the tailgate of his pickup. And he got that powder so it would shake in there. Looked at the pressure, called it good. But so maybe,
Doesn't strike you with confidence.
I'm not too sure if any of our employees are gonna have the thought process to bang that thing on the floor and make sure the powder is loose before they have to use it. So,
well, and I do go through and check them periodically. But like those old ones, I can't tell if they're loose or not. And I'm gonna guess that they're probably not.
Maybe that's a new job description for the safety director, go shake the fire extinguishers every month.
They're not, it's on a checklist.
Does it say on the outside of that, that you have to do that? You have to shake it from time to time?
You know, I think it is actually. I've seen them on there. I've seen it recommended.
Mine at home,
Um,
mine at home.
Does it?
Oh, that's what I had, right, yeah.
Okay.
I've had one that looks just exactly like those two in my house for 35 years and I've never looked at it.
It doesn't work. You got it.
You have transferred.
You ask the age and see if it's not still in the main area.
That's all I look at.
But yeah, so, I don't know. Think about it. If each office just purchases a cheapy little one with their office funds, that's fine, or do we want to make a big investment? I'll get more information from the Midwest Fire Sales.
Yep. If each office wanted to have their own, besides the other ones, I myself don't like the liability concern of them not being inspected, professionally inspected and certified. You know, they do put the tag on there and sign off on it when the inspection is. So if there's a question with our insurance, did the fire get out of hand? Well, did you try a fire extinguisher? Yeah, I did, but it didn't work, you know.
Yeah.
The only other thing about it too, I know at work, we inspect them every month,
Mhm.
sign off on it. So,
Who do you have to report to? Who do you sign off for?
yourself.
So
There's nobody inspecting them?
Dakota Energy owns the fire
No,
extinguishers. They don't have
they do them, they do them.
Midwest Fire.
But a yearly deal, but you're doing it every month, and
Yeah,
you know, like, if you, my other thought is, I don't know where liability lies, but if no one has signed off on it for 6 months and there's a fire and it doesn't work right, is Midwest Fire liable that they didn't do it properly, and are you liable because
yeah.
you didn't check it every month?
Yeah.
Like it says you're supposed to, you know what I mean, I don't know. So, I mean, it might be such a thing, honestly, that it is a monthly checklist that you go
Go down
and say that it was loose or whatever, and you sign off on it.
Because that is one thing for the gold award, with safety benefits, they have checklists like that for us to go down, you know, check the emergency lights, make sure the battery backup's working, make sure the fire extinguishers are charged and shaken. That sort of thing is kind of what they consist of, so. And that's what I've been trying to form a system on.
I would say see what the gentleman's recommendations are and bring it back to us.
Will do. Sounds good. I know Jeff said he was gonna be a bit late. I'm not sure what came up,
Work around him.
but.
Nothing else, it's just.
Thank you,
Dean
Nicole.
Weaver's resignation, if you just want to move to approve that,
What?
to approve Dean Weaver's resignation.
That's,
How long has he worked for Ham County?
It's 2021, up there in 11. If that's accurate.
yes, it is.
So moved.
Motion to approve Dean Weaver's resignation.
Second.
Second by Dan. Do you want to add commendation for his
Yes.
service to your motion?
Yes.
Okay. And then, that's the third individual.
We've got a motion and a second to approve Dean Weaver's resignation. Is there
With
discussion?
commendation.
With commendation for his service. Is there discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Sorry, I got a little excited there. So that is our third individual this year to resign. And we are wondering if we can look at maybe hiring another individual, at least one. We have included that in the budget for next year.
What's our number right now?
1 more
14?
person. We are down to 12 men, 12 working in the field.
With the amount of projects that we cut out this summer, does Jeff still feels that's necessary, or?
When we were talking about possibly doing summer help, seeing if we can get somebody who will just like drive a roller for our construction on North St. Lawrence Road.
That makes sense to me, and then you don't have all the,
'Cause
sure, all the other benefits that go along with it.
Right.
Although it's
Rather
kind of,
spend it.
well, it's kind of too late for that maybe, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see. I was wondering if we should put an ad in the paper, start advertising, and see if we can find some temporary summer
For a
help.
summer help. Yeah, you don't know unless you start looking.
And I'm sure there's maybe some retired individual out in the town or whatever that come in and fill in. But yeah, as for next year, I'm thinking we'd probably be looking to hire next summer. And we want to verify that with them.
You just need consensus from us.
I would
That
think
would be a motion to hire summer help, summer seasonal.
So moved.
temporary summer help.
Yep.
Motion to hire temporary summer help for the highway department if needed.
Second.
Got a second?
So is that, if you get temporary, it's probably like a 1,000-hour type maximum that they would be able to utilize in a year's time to be considered?
It has to be under 1250, otherwise we have to pay them retirement. The problem we have is hiring somebody who's not on your agenda.
Oh, okay, well,
We could still do the advertising.
Correct.
all right.
So should we change the motion to authorize the advertisement?
I would just let it die and then start over.
So we don't want to authorize advertising?
So let the original motion die and make a new one, you're suggesting?
Oh, okay. Then I move that we advertise,
What was the motion?
that we authorize the highway department to advertise for temporary summer help.
Okay, got a motion for the highway department to advertise for temporary summer help, second by Dan.
Do we put in there like a maximum amount of hours, or we just kind of know that that's the case?
We've done it a couple years ago. I'll just pull that one and re-advertise it.
So,
Any more discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'll pull that out of the copy.
thank you. I'm sorry we weren't more clear on that one.
And maybe a temporary summer help might turn into the employee that we need for next year.
That's how Hayden Peterman got his job.
Maybe.
Little test period.
What's that?
That's how Hayden Peterman became a full-time employee. He was summer help.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks.
You have two plats, neither of which require you to meet as the planning and zoning committee. We've reviewed them. They've been signed, except one needs a township signature, but that person is expected today. In fact, they may have been here already. Otherwise, we're still good to go, right? Okay,
What do we need to do then?
make a motion to approve them.
Is there anything unusual about either of the plats?
Nope.
I'd move we approve.
One at a time.
One at a time.
First one is Siegling, Inc. Is that right?
Siegling Mink Outlet. And motion to approve the Siegling Mink Outlet plat, Second?
Second.
A second? Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Motion to approve Asmus, outlots 3 and 4.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the Osmos outlets 3 and 4 and Hughes Outlet 1. But is that all kind of the same?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, okay. All right. Motion and a second. Is there discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, so we'll go through the general fund material pretty quick. To be quite honest with you, if you open up the comparison of revenues and expenses. This gives you an opportunity to look at the revenues compared to expenditures. And so in this particular case, you'll see that actual revenues in the general fund were 1.6 million, expenditures were 1.0 million. So that's a positive sign of recovery. So unless you want to go deeper into the fiscal reports, I think that's really what you're looking for, is to know that we're on the road to recovery.
Yay.
That looks a lot better than earlier.
It doesn't mean to throw caution to the wind, because we just don't know where we're at. Right, so as you could tell, we had significant flooding. We may or may not get FEMA reimbursement for that, which means we might have to move money from general fund over there. Next month, you'll move the emergency management funds that are in the general fund over to that fund to pay the county's portion of that operation. So there are some expenses that I know are coming, and then of course, the thing to always remember is that we pay our workman's comp and our property insurance at the end of the year, and those are about 60 grand to 75 grand for the two of them. So the objective from where I stand is to make sure that we end the year with a cash carryover, so we're not broke in January. So if that changes, I'll let you know. I promise you, I'll let you know. Resolution 24-13 specifies the vendors that we can pay mid-month. So instead of naming specific vendors, I did it by function. For example, utilities. Utilities can include water, sewer, garbage pickup, heating oil, things like that. So instead of saying we're gonna pay Bob's Gas or Riesel Oil, I put them together based on function. So if you want to just take a minute and look at that, then I'll ask you to approve those. And what this will do is it will allow us to balance some of those bills in the middle of the month against the end of the month. You still end up approving it with this meeting, but they kind of have pre-approval for payment.
The third bullet point there, or second, property taxes collected to be a portion, so those would be like claims that we would pay, or
That's the property tax money that's collected by the treasurer, and then my office apportions them. Actually, Kim does some apportionment on her side.
Giving to the school and.
Townships,
Yeah.
fire district. Yep.
How is this better than what we're doing? I don't quite understand what's the difference?
Because where we really ran into a problem, the biggest problem was if there's a transcript for a court proceeding. One of the court reporters didn't get paid right away. And then we get a correspondence from the judge.
Oh,
And it's like, well, that's not included in prepaid claims. So by doing this with anything that's court ordered, we don't have a choice anyway. You couldn't deny it if you wanted to.
why wouldn't that court reporter know well in advance that she doesn't get paid until,
We're one of the few counties that has one meeting a month
oh, okay.
in the third circuit.
Okay, and we've had other examples like that with people, okay.
Yep, or we just got books for the law library. And so that's a required function, we don't have a choice. But it wasn't on the previous list. And
I move we approve resolution 2024-13.
I'll second.
Motion and a second for approval of resolution 2024-13. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, we got a roll call for resolution. Start with Greg.
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Luke?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Myself, aye.
And then that resolution is in your
Yep.
folder. The next item is setting a special meeting, and this is our first glimpse at a provisional budget. And then you would make a motion to file that in my office, and then I begin the process of publishing it, setting up a public hearing. And by then, we'll have a little bit better grip, because during that meeting, we'll talk about in detail some of the revenue stuff. And Nicole's been working on doing the ratio, the 25% that's retained or goes back to cities with the road and bridge tax. She's got that figured out, but we'll go over that tonight in our budget meeting and have a presentation for this next special meeting. So the question is, when do you want to have a special meeting?
Do you have a suggestion?
Evenings work better for me. Phone don't ring at night.
This month sometime?
Yep. Yeah, it has to be filed in my office by then. Next Thursday? 11th?
The 11th?
Does that give the budget committee sufficient time to get things lined up?
We'll probably have our work done tonight.
I would rather have it
Tuesday?
on a Wednesday, if possible.
Okay.
Like the 10th Wednesday, or not? Myself. I think the 11th was the last day of baseball.
Okay. Is the evening meeting still workable for everybody?
The 10th at 7?
7 o'clock at night?
July 10th, 7 o'clock at night? That would, the suggestion is, works for me.
So that's it, 7 o'clock?
Okay, so the next item is safety benefits. Safety benefits is part of what Nicole was talking about when they come from a company in Plankton that evaluates our concerns, and not our concerns necessarily, their concerns about how we operate. So, let me scroll down to that quick. They gave us 2 recommendations. I wrote them on the agenda. The first one is to have a hold harmless clause be included in all contracts with contractors, subcontractors. This clause needs to be enforced, is needed to enforce the additional insurance portion of the certificate of insurance. And then they provide a sample should we need one. The second one is that newly elected members of your governing board receive documented new orientation training. This would be formal training done by the state's attorney along with the auditor and or other commission members. Additionally, the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners provides periodic training for newly elected commission members. Now, previously, they talked about the rest of us elected officials, but we're lucky because we have at least 2 conferences a year, if not more, in the middle that allows us to maintain our certification. Currently, the Commissioners Association doesn't have that. So I think this is their way of saying to basically back you guys up if somebody were to try and file against your bonds, that you have an appropriate base to make your decision on. So the hold harmless part, that's the easy one, whether or not you guys want to endorse having that training. Maybe you want to say yes today, maybe you want to think about it, maybe you want to visit with the state's attorney. But I think you may have seen in some of the news where some commissioners make decisions and then they come back, they get sued. I think this is what they're looking at, is trying to avoid these situations. Thoughts?
I don't know, is there certain, I guess it doesn't really specify what kind of requirement there is to make that happen. If it's like an hour worth of training, or it kind of says it can be done by, it just says informal training, but
Yes, so like, when I was in the sheriff's office, we were told we could do in-service training as long as we documented it. So like, if I sat down and talked to a new employee about how to serve papers, I just had a one-page form that where I read on when we talked about it, and I'd keep it on file. So technically, like even when Jan talked about open meetings and public records, if you adopted that, you could do that as an informal training fee. To show that we've touched that topic. If you want me to get more from them on that, I certainly will.
I don't think it hurt, I guess.
Okay.
In my opinion.
But you do support the recommendation about the hold harmless clauses?
I'm not sure I understand it. Most hold harmless clauses aren't worth the ink wasted to print them.
I think what they're getting at is, like, one of the discussions he had with me was related to the 4-H insurance issue, is that it forces the person to recognize that there is a risk and that they may have liability for it.
There is some value in that.
Yes.
That's about all.
And so if you were to make an argument of contributory negligence, there's your paperwork. They knew this was risky. They knew that this could happen.
Okay, I would agree on that for sure. People have an auction at a rural site or something, and the auctioneer puts up a big sign, not responsible for accidents. It wasn't worth constructing the sign, because they very well may be responsible for the accidents, and they'll get sued.
Right. Or the
It doesn't mean a
damages to
thing.
others.
Just because you say you're not responsible, doesn't mean you aren't.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll get some examples, bring them back next month, and you can look at those. Any other questions on that topic? Okay, the next one is that I would like to try and sell that building up on Highway 26 again. So I was visiting with Jamie, and she sent me an email, which is,
6,900.
yeah, I'm gonna pull it up so I don't say yes and can find out I was wrong. 6190.
Oh,
6930.
Who's that one at?
6930, this says. Oh, wait, this is proposed. Maybe it is reduced to 61.
Oh, that's depreciated cost, sorry.
Total appreciated value, 6930.
Yeah, 6930.
Appraised value.
What happened the last time we did this?
We got a bid, but it was well below what we said is the appraised value, so it was rejected.
Okay.
So do we need a time frame?
To sell it, I would do the same thing we did last time.
Yes.
Advertise it, set a date to open bids,
Yeah, motion for
please.
That's
that.
not,
So move.
okay, that's,
Motion from Greg,
I just have something for discussion. Still need a second, I'll second it, but I have a question.
got
That's land and building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
a
Just wanna make
second,
sure.
we got a second from Jim with a question.
That takes care of the discussion.
Is there any more discussion on that reappraisal? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries to reappraise or accept the reappraisal of the highway shop up there.
Jamie? Want to talk about zoning or you want me to breeze through it?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Who's that?
I'll forgive you.
Okay.
Hopefully the same people get it.
Done enough.
All right, I just wanted to report on the conditional use permit that we received, for the Kurt Walter vertical bridge development, that tower that is down in Bates Township. It is complete, and I have reported it to the Department of Revenue so that they can get it assessed for the central assessment. It won't be assessed by me, but I drove down there, and yes, it is there, and it is complete.
It's way down there.
It's way down there.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
on yet, though. Or I don't have the right phone.
You need to get a different person. Yeah, I just wanted to report that that was done,
T-Mobile
and
phone.
I've been in contact with the company that owns it.
Have we had any other applications for conditional use permits
Not this year.
so far? I keep hearing that there's a company that wants to build a solar farm and a wind farm in County, South Dakota. And
Well, I
that
think
they,
that there's a company that's maybe doing some research and maybe working with some landowners.
okay, that's what I hear too.
Yes,
But they haven't
but
applied.
they're not ready to do a conditional use permit,
Okay.
from what I am aware of. Okay? That's all I had for you, I just wanted to report that.
Good, thank you.
Say hi.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
Take a short break. Before we get into that,
Department of Health.
Department of Health thing again. Is it, Doug, will that be a phone call with that?
Nope, that's just me.
Oh, just discussion. We're gonna take a short break.
Is
Ah,
it-
no,
But I think it's gonna be something here to put us on.
Well, they talked about that meeting.
That's all. That's all we know.
Maybe an application that said that they want to get to the PC. I think, or maybe. Are they talking about?
Well, you actually have sleeves on today, what's going on?
Is it?
You have sleeves on today.
You need rain up there?
There was, well, they had a talk
Just inches at a time usually.
Did you get it?
We didn't know, we didn't
So
get
it's
any,
not
let's
sweet.
say last time it rained was last Friday or Saturday. We had
Well,
an
we got 2 inches of that.
inch and a half out of that.
We got 2 inches.
You got 2 inches?
And then we got a half inch.
It was the one, well, then there was a half inch before that, and then it was the one before that was our big one.
You know, most summers, even with every year and stuff. This year it's like,
It's every couple days, so yeah.
I can't remember. That was the one that.
I just remember the 5 inch one, that was.
I couldn't believe it. Well, I knew he was gonna do something yesterday.
You don't really want it on.
Yeah, that kind of was, that was north of us.
Well, listen, you're just about an inch out of that. They need it.
Yeah, further west, once you get West River, then they're dry again. They were pretty decent there last year, and now this year they're getting shortchanged again, back to normal.
Oh, yeah.
We can certainly send them some of ours.
Is this a 5 minute or a 10 minute?
I think you can have as much as you want.
It's a 5 minute that we're gonna hope to keep to 15 minutes.
I'm gonna run down to Kessler's and buy groceries.
Oh, okay.
You got groceries here.
You got groceries there.
They're always dark chocolate.
He loves dark chocolate. Here, I'm just gonna run it downstairs.
Mhm.
Well, it's a T-Mobile tower, so I don't really know, how many people are using T-Mobile.
Not me, I don't know.
They have a number on it outside.
Cell phone companies to be able to use the towers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's typically what they all do.
Yeah, so it's T-Mobile that they use, so it's.
Using the PSI files.
Yeah.
number of deaths.
Yeah, it's been good. No, I think I was saying what,
That's always a good thing.
Communication is.
yes, it is.
She did film some crap.
That's what?
It's a blue phone case. Told Jim she could give John some crap about his blue phone case. But ask him where the rest of the Teletubbies are.
If he has one for each day of the week or something.
So First Amendment right for his phone case to be in power wants.
Yes, freedom of expression is what.
Exactly. I will admit the blue is my favorite color. I think that should.
Not good.
Would you go on like a baby?
Like, maybe powder blue,
Baby powder?
baby blanket blue. Maybe he was serious. How's that?
I don't know if he was.
Maybe he was serious. I don't know.
I saw a video last night.
We got power on, like,
Someplace, some road don't have water and sewer yet. They are taking all of the stuff that gets piled on the curb to this parking lot, crushing it, trucking it. It's,
I was thinking if we had a flood like that, like they've had in the southeast corner, and we had $10 million of damage in the county, normally FEMA's gonna pick up 75%.
we couldn't pick up.
7.5. The state will pick up 10, and we're getting stuck with 15, $1.5 million,
Right.
you know?
There goes half of that year's worth.
I mean, that's,
A lot of money.
On a deal like that, you'd have to.
Yeah.
Because there's no way
it is, you have to pay it all at one time. Did you see that they're criticizing the emergency management down there for waiting to do the disaster declaration? Because then the governor couldn't send the guard anyway and all that.
Was there a reason they weren't?
They said they didn't send the guard because it was too expensive. That's what they said.
The people down there don't think so, do they?
I'm sure not.
Well, the theory, I said, the theory that I read in the article is we could send guards to our national border, but we can't send them interstate to help for something like this.
Right, and that's part of their mission, support communities.
You ain't kidding, that's exactly what their mission is. That ain't part of their mission, that is their mission.
I told Arlen when he first contacted me about the resolution, I said, no point declaring an emergency, because you need to act right away. Not wait till the next commission.
okay, we'll move back in session.
All right, so I have for you 2 sets of minutes, one for the regular meeting, one for the special meeting. I haven't gotten any feedback from anybody that anything needs to be changed, so. I'd ask you to approve those.
Motion to approve.
Both together.
Individual or it need to be done both?
I'll put you down for both of them.
There we go.
Second time.
Second, no, any discussion on approving the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Okay, so I sent the notice of termination of lease space for the health nurse. And the hospital responded that they were in fact willing to let us out of the lease early. So the plan was that everything would be moved out by the 1st of July. So we should be done paying for rent on that office space. What I did find out is that they were also using that space for home health services. So there were other people occupying it. It sounds like the home health people through the hospital or whomever is going to buy some of the furniture for the Department of Health, which means they have less to move. I spoke with both Amber in the VSO and I spoke with Ann in the 4-H extension office about office space. And the day that the staff from the Department of Health was here, they went down to visit with Amber. And unfortunately, they walked in while she was visiting with a client. And her supervisor was there. And so he told her, no, this isn't gonna work. Well, it was, yes.
Go ahead.
It was a simple mistake of the door. I was told the door was ajar, so they didn't know that it was a private meeting. but they did walk in on it. But Kevin, the guy that's supervisor, told Andrew that we, above everything else, they have to safeguard those veterans' information. So he was gonna advocate against not. So then we went over and we looked at the corner, which is about an 8-foot by 8-foot office in the very northeast corner of the first floor, which is being used for just storage. And when I spoke with Ann about it, she was also not in favor of giving it up. So since I can't make a decision on your behalf, you guys get to decide.
Well, the VSO one, if they're having concerns with it, I don't even think we should even question that one. I think the 4-H back in, if that corner's enough room for them, I think we just clean it, have it get cleaned out, and they can use that.
Okay, so the motion,
I mean, is it a motion? Yes.
Well, is this county health nurse or whatever, are they gonna need any room for like an exam table or that kind of stuff? Or is it just a small desk and a couple of chairs?
they have a station they use for infants. And it basically would fit in this space right here. So that's the extent of their examination stuff. And then they have a double doored, probably 5-foot tall storage cabinet, and then it's just some miscellaneous stuff.
They said
Which
that
was
the
more-
space was sufficient, right? They said that.
Right. And that stuff was more than what we realized might go into the veteran service office. So there was kind of a surprise there, because I'm not sure that Wade out in the hills knew what was all necessary for this.
I'll second the motion.
That was a motion to use that room behind the 4-H office. So we got a motion and a second to use that small room behind the 4-H office for the Department of Health nurse. Any discussion on that motion?
Is there adequate security in terms of the information that is provided in healthcare setting in that room?
There's a doorway, but the door's been removed, but we would work to close that back up so that there would be a barrier between those two offices.
Lockable?
Or permanent, because that's what they did in one of the other offices. They just put a bookcase in the opening that satisfied everybody's needs.
Okay, I mean, there's just as much sensitive information in that office as there is in the VSO office.
Ann's primary concern is if somebody went through when they were having an event in the assembly room, but if I visit with the staff about that, I'm sure they'll work around it.
Access
Why don't
is,
they schedule out a date when they know that they're gonna be there, schedule that meeting for the assembly
Yeah.
room. That they have the assembly room, especially if somebody has 2 or 3 kids, that they can be in the assembly room. Out there. It just takes a little bit of scheduling to put it all together.
so access is through the assembly room for that
Correct.
little space. I will say that an 8x8 space makes my claustrophobia just.
Well, I'm not small. If you want to see it, I got a key.
A grave is 4x12.
Is there any further discussion on using that room for the health nurse? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next item is the consent agenda, and items that you'll be acknowledging receipt of include the registrar's financial statement, June payroll ledger, the library board's financial report for May, as well as their minutes, and then the draft minutes for June. We will also be approving the bills that you reviewed today, which are the payment claims and vouchers.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Dan, a second by Luke. Is there discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
See where Arlen is at.
I just saw him, he was downstairs.
Was he?
But he was heading towards the door, so.
Jeff is not coming, right?
Said he was Worcester, I think.
Arlen's coming upstairs.
Arlen is?
It was Nicole. Nicole, was Jeff still gonna show up and discuss operations with us, or?
I don't know. I
ask him if he had anything else to discuss.
I don't know what I need.
Harlan, you're up.
He said, sounds good, yeah. He's not worried about.
Good afternoon. First thing I have is the drone. Stuff to hand out. Sorry. Can you get one? All right, just some more work on the drone. You can see in the agenda that we did receive an anonymous donation of $2,000 for the purchase of the drone. Few of us know who it was, but they prefer to be unnamed at this point.
They don't want the county commission to know either. That's fine.
I did not talk to them. The sheriff office did when they dropped them off, so that would have to be discussed with the sheriff for sure. If that was,
Because they got a check too, right?
yes,
You know how much theirs was?
they're on the same as mine. I'm not sure exactly, 2,000 or something. And then the fire department received a check too. I'm not sure how much that was. I'm assuming they were on the same.
Was there a reason behind
That would give away who it was.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine.
I don't think we should pry into
That's
so much
what I
of the
Yeah.
donation. It's,
Don't look like a gift horse in the mouth.
tell them thank you from.
Yes.
And I have not talked to them yet myself, I haven't seen them, but, we did receive some nice donations and very appreciative of what they've done for us. Mine was on the donation set for the drone. I'm sure how they knew we were, unless they saw the minutes, that we were looking to purchase a drone, so mine was earmarked that in their memo to help with the drone. As you can see, I did some research. We had Frontier Precision on the 19th. They came in and flew a couple drones, let a bunch of us fly them, and just kind of see what they do and what they look like, how they fly, all that fun stuff. Yeah, it went real well. Had quite a few firefighters, law enforcement out there to see how it works. You can see there's two different options, the DJI and the Autel. And I kind of did the price breakdown. The DJI is the cheaper one of the three that I looked at. I didn't put the Sky Deal on there because it's 10 grand more. It's right around 26,000. So I just kind of took that one right off the table. We got to fly that one. It wasn't any different than the other ones, other than it's all American made. So you have to pay an extra 10,000 for the stamp of USA on it. So DJI, it's stuff included there. The batteries, the landing pad, 11,752. And off to the right, I broke it down per unit, was like it tells you how much each battery was. Then you go down to the Autel. There's two different options that I looked at. There's possibility of a discount because we're an emergency response agency. There's no guarantee, so I did both, just so we can see that. With the discount, we're looking at just under 13,000. Without the discount, it's just under 14,000, so it's about $1,000 difference for the discount. They tell me that we have a almost guaranteed discount, but not guaranteed, if that makes sense. They can always decide not to. It's decided by Autel on whether or not we get it. So I felt I better put them both in there, so that we understood that. Training, self-testing is $159 per pilot. With that, it's 15 hours. They have to do it on their own, online.
goes through a bunch of quizzes, different things like that, and gets them ready to take the test. There is an option of in-person training. It's about $400 per person. It's an 8-hour training, and they have a very good success rate on taking the test off of that. They hammer down everything that's on the test, so they pass it. And then the test means it's federal license, so about $175 per person to take that test, and that's would have to be done at a testing facility that's secure and stuff with a proctor and stuff.
Do we know whether or not these are American made or are they Chinese?
The DJI is Chinese made.
Because I think they're about to pull the plug on Chinese made drones being imported to this country. I keep reading that.
Yeah, there's talk about that. As of right now, we're okay. The talking with procurement out of the state of South Dakota, they said means we're buying it from Frontier Precision. We're purchasing it from an American company, even though the product is made in China. The Autel is what the South Dakota Patrol uses, Highway Patrol, and they bought it from the same company, so that's why I have both of them on there. It's very expensive. That would be our other route if it just come down to it before we purchase this. If the DJI was just unable to purchase it.
The Autel, so that is manufactured where?
China.
Yeah.
But they have offices and stuff in America, so they can buy it with.
I think the fear is that they're embedded with the capacity to snoop and pass on what they learn to kind of these Chinese interested parties.
Right.
And they would also have the capacity, as I understand it, to incapacitate those drones should they think that would serve their purposes. Don't know if it's true. I've read it.
Yeah, I haven't read into that part yet. But John Dunlop is actually digging into that. He's the chairman of the LEPC, so he's really been digging into that line of stuff. Like I said, it's considerably more expensive. $100 per person.
Sorry, if you were to order the Autel, they would let you know when you order if you're getting that discount, wouldn't you?
Yes. Yes. The salesman is pretty confident that we would get the discount. None of his agencies have been declined. He said there's always the first time. He doesn't want anybody caught off guard if it does.
We got a question about the batteries. The DJI, you've got 8 batteries, and the Autel, you've got 4. Is it just because of the capacity of the batteries are double?
How long they can fly.
I would say if you could work with 4 batteries in an emergency situation, that keeps you in the air twice as long before you got to change the batteries, correct?
Yeah, 4 batteries keeps us in the air. About 45 minutes is what our flight time is, if conditions are perfect.
For the Autel?
No, for the DJI. The Autel's, I think, a little less than that. I'd have to look at it. Because it's less batteries. I don't know why they went with 4 batteries on it.
So let's say that one has 4, and the other one has 8.
I guess if they put that on there to compete, because you knew we were looking at 2 different ones.
Whose drones were used when Wyatt was missing?
Say it again.
Whose drones were used when Wyatt was
We
missing?
had here, so we had Hughes County, Edmonds County, Walworth County, Spring County.
And they all have drones.
They had Inland Highway Patrol, so we had Autels and DJIs.
None of them have the American made drone.
They've all had their programs going long enough, they haven't had any issues with purchasing.
So when you test them, and from what you've heard, you haven't really heard any one person trying to sway you that one's way better than the other necessarily?
No.
These 2 that you've seen?
DJI is obviously the most common one that you're seeing around, even for recreation, because they make a lot of different models that are cheaper to purchase.
Do we need to make a decision on this today?
No, this is just to bring it to you guys' attention that I'm, keeping you updated on what I'm learning and what I'm figuring out.
Well, it looked to me like if you're gonna go to the Altel, you just will figure it with, if you're figuring flight on the DJI, you're figuring with 8 batteries, your flight time is 45 minutes, using the 8
For
batteries.
batteries, it takes $2.
Okay. So
And it takes,
one battery on the Altel?
Yep.
Okay, that's how come they're getting by. I was gonna say, that's kind of like,
How long does it take to charge?
you can, 45 minutes.
So theoretically, if you drain one, the other one you charge in the time you have it up in the air, you should be able to swap around.
If,
The heat of
We
the
have to
battery,
be cooled
the
down.
cooler,
basically,
because they won't charge until they cool down. And 45 minutes is the fly time if everything's perfect. If you got very much wind, it's gonna drain quicker. And what we're using, which cameras, if we're using both cameras, if we're using infrared on them, on a regular, steady.
What's the longevity of this battery? It gave you
They're saying 5 years. And I know Edmonds County with their DJI, it's got 7 on his. And they're still working.
You get just as much flight time.
I'm sure it's like any other battery, it's amount of cycles.
Right.
If you only use it twice a year, you're gonna last
this
long.
one takes 2 batteries to fly.
If you have it up every
Right,
other
which is
day.
26. Why would you want to spend twice
Um,
as much money on
so
batteries if you don't get any more?
that's where we're at on
this
that.
than you do out of-
Do they give you give me an inkling on if they're gonna take price increases or anything?
I talked to him this morning. He said as of right now, these are good pricing. He doesn't see them changing in the near future, but if we want to do updated pricing, I can get that from him. As of right now, he said they haven't changed. These, they'll honor these quotes that I have.
The $630 a year for insurance, is that liability only, or does that cover the drone?
That is both.
Okay.
Liability is an expensive part, that's 600, and then property is 35, 30 or 35.
So who are the 4 pilots you have in mind?
Right now, be myself, John Dunlop. Not sure from the sheriff's office, he's gonna pick one.
Someone.
And then I'm looking at James Walbrock because he has quite a bit of experience flying. And is available 90% of the time right
I know you've been over this. I haven't got it through my pea-sized brain yet. Did you say you get just as much fly time out of the Autel with 4 batteries at $1,200 as you get out of the 8 batteries with DJI at twice that price?
It takes 2 batteries.
I know, but it's the same fly time for half the money.
Well, I think I misspoke on that. I think, if I remember right, that the Autel takes 1 battery, where the DJI takes 2, so that's why there's
Right.
pretty close to the same fly time.
That doesn't make much sense to me.
But the battery cost comparative to flight time is double, what you're saying.
I'm saying for $1,200, you get the same fly time as you do out of
Yeah.
2,600.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's more than double the cost.
Yeah.
For the available flight time.
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
That's probably why those batteries, I would imagine the DJI batteries will probably last longer because they have less load on them. What are you saying, they probably last 7 years? I would imagine the
Oh,
Autel battery probably won't last as long,
okay, I see what you're saying.
would be my guess.
I'll double check that.
Or maybe you're only getting half the batteries. So do they sell just, cause like I've got a drone, just a consumer $1,000 drone, do they sell those for
I think so. I think they sell that any drone you want for.
emergency? I'm just curious, I mean, I understand these have a considerably more capacity for imaging and that sort of thing, I mean, that thing is, one that I've got is fairly incredible for what you can go out and look up and see and have high def.
Yeah, these, The cameras are the big thing we're looking at on these, especially with the infrared and the night vision. And the distance so that they can be still seen.
I guess I would more. I mean, I think there's value here in these, and what you can have with the infrared. I was just curious, like for another, if you're gonna have 4 people trained to fly these things for another $1,000, you can have the second one. So that thing, you got high def picture out of 3 miles. Anyway, and for like the training process, I'd much rather have one of our 4 pilots crash a $1,000 drone than crash a $12,000 one.
I come.
Anyway, I was just curious if they sold them for this company.
You don't know what, like this.
Yeah.
I wonder if in the future, the Department of Homeland Security might come to the conclusion that these drones flying all over the country, Chinese programmed, are a clear and present danger to the security of the United States, that they would ground all of them.
Not gonna rule that out.
Never know.
No.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. That's just, get a lower one with cost to, for training purposes, plus just having a second one. In an instance, we have 2 available to fly. What do you use it?
So that maybe using them. I don't know what it takes to. I mean, these things are big.
Yeah, they're.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're putting those in the back of the truck and back in the trunk of the vehicle, like the one I've got. You can put it in this bag and carry it under the seat if you wanted to.
These come with the Pelican cases, part of the deal with protect them. We're able to stream these to a computer and other devices if we need to. I don't know if the lower end ones can do that, but I can definitely look into that.
Even those are just like put your phone or your iPad.
So my other real request would be if I can add that $630 for insurance into my budget for next year. I can absorb it if we don't purchase it this year. I don't think the insurance will be quite there. I assume they would run it prorated. But be able to add that to my budget.
So could you pay the insurance?
Was that
out of that
your
equipment?
budget or LPC's budget?
Like I said, I discussed with LPC, but I don't know how we're going to be adding their funds.
Doug, what was that? His budget or which one?
LPC.
Oh. Is Buffalo County chipping in?
No, this would be our resource. It would be a request if I needed it down there, to take it down there. This pot of money is from before the merger happened.
Okay.
Because how much is in that fund?
Right now,
But couldn't we pay the, with the annual insurance fee? Would we be able to use that money for them?
I believe we could. It would eat it up in several years.
Yeah.
Eventually, somewhere we'd have to move it over to my budget probably.
Because we still get $7 from that annually, right? And not enough to pay for that. Or build anything off of that, or not?
No, so like this year we got $800.
So it might be enough to pay for insurance if you didn't want to
Right.
gain a pot.
So some of the stuff we earmarked this year when we asked for the grant was to replace some hazmat suits. And that would be what I request some more money eventually, because we got all our hazmat suits are starting to expire date. They're weird, they're vacuum sealed, but yet they still have that expiration date.
Well, they can't sell it anymore.
Right.
They'll expire.
Any more questions on that? I guess would be, I'd have to ask the LABC if we could, if they're okay with it.
And garbage ridge.
On insurance, yeah, I'll have to talk to the state.
I guess I feel like this is probably a reasonable thing to do, I guess. You know, it's just a matter of getting all the details ironed out, I guess, in my opinion.
One thing to consider is, I don't know what other uses there could be for that LEPC fund, but if we're gonna purchase the drones out of that, and then that annual contribution, which is obviously how we build up this $24,000, if that goes towards insurance every year, if that goes towards that annual insurance, we're not gonna be building anything in that fund again.
And that's been, I wish I could tell you how many years it's been building, because you can, as far as I've been in, you can only carry over 200 or less out of the funds that you get every year, so you can have it take quite a few years to build that up.
Because at some point too, you're gonna obviously, it's gonna need repairs, it's gonna need new batteries, it's gonna need, you know, I don't know if they do like firmware updates on all that equipment, if that's all included. The environment, or if they're gonna charge you to do this kind of thing.
I think the firmwares are included, I'll double check.
Are you there?
This is special. The last one I have is updates on the disaster that we declared last week. See up at the top, that page says totals. So we got 34 entries right now. That's up one already, because that's where I was at before I came here, was add another entry for Spring Lake. And right now, we're at $181,512 in damage. Two townships that start tonight, Gilbert and Grand. I know Grand has multiple culverts out, so we're gonna surpass 200,000. I would expect we'll push 300 by the time we're done collecting all the data. St. Lawrence has got to finish tonight, so they got some. I think they probably have another 20,000 to add.
To the 80,000? So they're gonna
To
be
180,000. Which, it's hard to believe, it's a little milder than we're used to, considering we're usually a million plus with all of our disasters that we had since I started. 2019 was over 3 million by the time we were done. Still, plenty of damage. I'm assuming we're gonna have around, or thinking we're gonna have around 70 sites when we're done. I'll have to go through each one of those on the computer and validate each one of them. And make sure I don't see mistakes. Any mistakes I'll have to send back to the township people. They'll have to fix them unless it's something I can fix easily. Then we'll go on to state of South Dakota, and they will do the same thing. Validate my validations and let me know what I missed. So you'll see another sheet that is the timeline. That disaster will be applied for by Governor Nome. We have to have our stuff into the state of South Dakota by July 12th. And we're 3/4 of the way done getting the PDAs in. I'm just starting to go through them today to validate them. Week of July 15th, the state will review the damage information, address anything that needs to be addressed. 22nd, conduct a joint PDA with FEMA and the counties. And the 29th of July, Governor will request the presidential declaration. So we won't see any money flowing until August.
Just return to this one for a second. What is the significance of the word status and complete on each of those pages? What does that mean? Status complete. upper left-hand corner.
or the status. Some of those will have, these are all computers that I've been through. If there's an issue, so the program will actually point out if we have a duplicate. It'll tell you you'll have 10 different entries in, but one of them might be a duplicate, so status will say 10 and complete will say 9.
Okay, so that, back to St. Lawrence Township, when it says status 9, complete 9, that has nothing to do with the additional $20,000. Okay.
Nope. What that tells me there is that everything they put in didn't throw any red flags on the system. They didn't miss something. And they'll be adding more tonight. No guarantees, obviously, like with any of our declarations, the president might not, even though we meet our thresholds, still might not sign it. Gotta wait and see. Once he signs it, that's when everything takes effect, all of our work start being handed in. And hopefully start sending money out. Any questions on that? That's all I have, if you don't have any questions.
Thanks.
Thanks, Arlen.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
That's it, that's all.
There's no more.
Anybody here have a need for an executive session? Okay. Guess that, we did cover the special meeting for the provisional budget, correct? Next meeting is August 6th, September 3rd for the next meeting after that. Anything else to cover? I would hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Dan, second by Jim Jones. All in favor, is there any discussion on adjournment? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, we are adjourned. Look over here.
What do you want? What do you want?
I had a couple.
You don't like Derek Charger?
I don't mind it. I had a couple.
Good.